What do you think happened?
Everything happened within the reverse part of it.
Yeah.
We didn't hire him.
Yeah.
Better yet, he didn't hire himself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't 15 minutes that he took the job after the show. It was about 90 minutes after that he said, But I knew shortly after he would make a decision one way or another. You say what happened? They got cheap. Simple. If I want you and I'm courting you and you're the guy, you need to calculate everything. Rob Pelinka, along with Jeannie Buss and Kurt Rambis and Linda Rambis and whoever, Mike Krzyzewski, whoever it is that is part of the group making a decision, miscalculated Dan Hurley and who he was and what he was after and what he was looking for. Much like you said to me, Skip, okay, well, he's out the building, Key. He's back on the East Coast.
Went straight back
and then nothing got signed.
Yep.
Okay? Mm-hmm. There's always a cooling off period and an understanding and let me sit down and talk to my family. Mm-hmm. Let me crunch the numbers. Let me dangle this offer in front of UConn because I think if I got $11.5 million of real money and I'm sitting at 5 and some change, I can get them up to close to 9. Why would I leave? There's no point in me leaving to take over a potential flawed roster that I see no real vision in changing to get us what we need to get to be able to get out of the Western Conference. So you start to look at all of those sort of things and it comes down to money. At the end of the day, if I'm courting you, I got a job. I'm good. I'm safe. I'm here. I'm living in the East Coast. I'm from New Jersey. I'm in Connecticut, right up the road. I don't have to spend $20 million to get a house. I don't have to pay high taxes. It's a whole bunch of stuff that goes.
You do have to pay high taxes, trust me.
In Connecticut,
I live there. It's high. It's
but
like
it's not this.
I don't know. It's close.
It's close.
It
okay.
really is. But whatever.
But whatever
you don't have to pay $20 million for a house for sure.
The numbers favor that part of
no doubt.
the country.
Yeah.
It just does. So you look at it, you look at all the other coaches that have gotten extensions or was courted over the last couple years by teams.
Yep.
They just get it done, whether it's Monty, whether it's Ty Lue, whoever, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's Eric Spoelstra, whether it's, okay, I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to sniff around Jason Kidd. Here you go, kid. Here goes some new money for you. Teams get it done. And the Lakers have a history of showing that they don't want to get it done with guys that they go after. Because, as you know, Rachel, if you want to get a damn deal done, you get it done. Think about when Dr. Buss went out the second time, Phil Jackson. Mm-hmm. He said, in 2005, hey, here's the problem. We're struggling right now. I know you're dating my daughter, some issues going on. We got a whole bunch, but I got something for you. Yep. I got $10 million a year. Please come save the franchise. Mm-hmm. At that time, record-breaking for a championship coach. It was record-breaking. He just did it. Here you go.
Okay, but you already knew what he could do for you.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You go get it done. You date the girl and get it done. You don't make the girl feel like she's the fourth or the third. If I'm going to get Dan Hurley, we getting it done. I'm putting him right at the top 3. I'm just doing it. That's just it. And we're going to get it done and we'll live with it if it doesn't work out.
First of all, I love that your reference point for how much it costs to buy a house is $20 million. That's nice. But I do agree with you.
Well, I mean, for him.
Is that not true?
I'm saying for the coach and where the coach is going to live, not for me.
I do totally agree with you. This was not a Godfather offer. And it was confusing because not only was it not going to make him the highest paid coach in his own town, he wasn't even going to, if he took this job, Ty Lue would have made more money than him. The coach of the Detroit Pistons would have made more money than him. And I think part of it is the Lakers weren't looking at this the right way. Maybe they were looking at it, it's like, hey, we're taking a little bit of a chance. We don't know how he's going to work out in the pros. This is what we think he's worth. That's not what it's about. It's not what Dan Hurley is worth money-wise. It's about what he's worth to you. And the Lakers needed this to work out. They fired a coach 2 years after winning a championship. They fired a coach 1 season removed after getting to the Western Conference Finals. They've had 7 coaches in the last 11 years. That is embarrassing. They needed to stop the bleeding, and they don't have a lot of other options. The options they're left with after blowing this is a guy who's never coached above AAU and a guy who is a lifetime assistant who had 1 head coaching job, who then lost it with the Charlotte Hornets. And look, James Borrego is a good coach, and he could be where they end up here. I will say Borrego is in Cleveland today. They are looking to hire him, so that option...
He is a protege. but go ahead.
100%.
Yeah.
That option could or could not be off the table after today. We'll find out. And look, Frank Vogel was not their first choice. In fact, he was their third choice, and he won a title, except they fired him. So even if James Borrego does get the job and does really well, who knows if he'll stay or not? I just didn't understand that when Dan Hurley did show interest, and it almost seems like, man, out of the blue, after bungling this, after firing Darvin without having a plan on what we're going to do next, the Phoenix Suns fired Frank Vogel, but at least, which I didn't think was deserved, but at least they knew exactly what they were doing. They were going to hire Arizona native Mike Budenholzer and try to get a different spin on things. Darvin Ham was fired without a plan on what to do next. And here, Dan Hurley, I don't want to say drops in your lap, but it shows interest in a way that could really bring some energy to the franchise. And you don't do what you need to do to get him in the building. This is a huge mistake.
Okay. I see this completely upside down from both of you. I told you from the start, this is not passing the smell test. I think your organization got played by Dan Hurley. I think it was strictly leveraged from the start. I think he had little to no interest in actually becoming the Lakers coach. He might smell you a little bit. He might come out for one day on a private jet that you paid for to fly him out and straight back because he had to get to a Billy Joel concert on Saturday night in New York City, to which he wore a New York T-shirt that should have told you right there, that's who he is and that's where he will stay.
Good.
Okay, good. So think about this. They tried to sell us, once this story broke, from Adrian Wojnarowski, who is very close to the Hurley family because he wrote that book, Miracle of St. Anthony, which featured Bob Hurley, the father of, obviously, Dan and Bobby, who coached a great high school team in, is it Jersey City? I think it's Jersey City. Yeah.
Jersey.
Yeah. And so Woj is plugged in there. So all of a sudden, he drops a Woj bomb that, oh, Dan Hurley to the Lakers. I believe that Dan Hurley approached the Lakers, not vice versa, even though they tried to sell from the start that our focal point of the start of our search for a coach was Dan Hurley. Well, then why would you wait a whole month before you would even even meet him? That was the first time Jeannie and Rob Pelinka had ever sat face-to-face with Dan Hurley, was a month into your coaching search after you had interviewed James Borrego at least twice. I don't know if they ever sat down with J.J. Redick or not. I can't really figure that one out. But Shams reported just a week ago that the Lakers have zeroed in on J.J. Redick. The Athletic was strong on he is the choice. This is almost about to happen. It was on hair trigger to go J.J. Redick. So help me out. Doesn't it come clear that Dan Hurley introduced himself into this and said, hey, would you be interested in me? And he's such a high-profile coach because he's become the face of college basketball, obviously back-to-back championships at UConn. So all of a sudden, here he is, and he wants what Woj termed a massive offer. He's going to get a massive offer, which, as you just both so correctly and depressingly pointed out, it wasn't even close. It's kind of an insulting offer, but I believe that Jeannie and Rob were also smell testing this, saying, are you sure about this? Are we sure? Because what exactly qualifies him to make you excited? Because I look at his background, Dan Hurley, okay, he coached at St. Benedict's Prep and Wagner and Rhode Island and now Connecticut. And there's no doubt about the last 2 years at Connecticut because they got a dynasty going because they could win it all again. They got a top 5 roster. But again, I could, Keyshawn, I kept telling you, I could make a case that J.J. Redick was actually more qualified to coach your Lakers than Dan Hurley because his style is in complete conflict with professional basketball. It's almost like Caitlin Clark is having to learn as Diana Taurasi said, it's a whole new dance in pro basketball. Well, you don't think it'd be a whole new dance for Dan Hurley, who USA Today yesterday described as a raging maniac, sideline control freak? Is that going to fly with LeBron and even for Rob Pelinka and Jeannie here in Los Angeles? I don't know. I don't see it. Plus, speaking of control, he would want total control because he's got total control in Connecticut.
Well, that wasn't going to happen with the Lakers.
There's no way. You're going to get no control. So why would he give up what he has for an organization that can be a little dysfunctional internally.
Here's why, Skip, I thought that he would give up whatever it was to go from the East to the West. Is because, like you said, just not Woj, you obviously would think, if I'm going after a college coach, there's got to be something that would entice him to leave a program. And that something, obviously, is the NBA, number one. Number two, one of the top franchises in all of sports. And number three, more money. You can't say no. That's why when you see the number, you're like,
okay, but
that's
again,
embarrassing.
They're risking so much money. That's a lot to offer a college coach when the history of the NBA will show you no college coach has ever won.
But what are their other options? It's not about
well, now we're getting back to does anybody really
it?
want this job?
Well,
I mean, that's where we're starting to go because it would seem like the Los Angeles Lakers would have better options than this.
I don't think it's about as much would anyone want this job as to who's available with the level of experience that they want and need and who can manage their superstars. And that is a very small, narrow job description, and they have unfortunately gone through a couple coaches who met that job description, and they got rid of them.
They did.
So it's a little bit about, it doesn't really matter. Look, is Dan Hurley the perfect fit? No, he's not the perfect fit. If I was dreaming up a coach for this Lakers team, I would not say, man, this guy is perfect because he's never coached in the NBA before.
He actually made you excited just because of what you just said. Who else is there?
But even if he's not perfect, he could have been the best choice available. And I completely agree with you with the way that he got into this coaching discussion, 100%.
It's a little weird.
However, once he's in the building, once his eyes are open to being there, it's like a kid on a recruiting visit.
Keyshawn, think about this. Okay, Steve Kerr makes $17.5 million. Popovich makes 16. Spoelstra makes 15.
Ty Lue's at 14.
Ty Lue's at 14, okay? And Monty Williams, who did get a team to the NBA Finals. I know he's coaching the woeful Detroit Pistons. I don't even know if he's going to last there. But he's at 13.
Okay.
Well, would you really want to start, if you go to the top, would you want to pay him $18 million?
I personally would, and here's why. Those four guys that you mentioned, from all the way at the top to Steve Kerr, down to Ty Lue, Spoelstra, and Pop in between, after that, Hurley, to me, is equal to all the other guys because he's won in college, although it's college. He still has X's and O's. It's still basketball. He has a basketball IQ, and he has an understanding that he is in the pros. He can't deal with the pros the same way he can in college, or else he'll be out of the building. And I'm sure he's smart enough to know that. I'm sure his ego doesn't say, I'm walking into the building. This is freaking LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and I'm going to tell them what to do. This is not an 18-year-old kid, okay? So you blow him away with an offer. You just pay him. Because otherwise, much like you and Paul said yesterday, it's going to be embarrassing. It is embarrassing to get turned away.
Especially if you just got played for salary at UConn, right?
Come on.
During the NBA Finals, when the Boston Celtics of all teams are looking like they're about to win. I mean, none of this feels like a coincidence either. Again, it is not about, is he worth this much money? It is not about, is he the perfect candidate? It's, is he worth that much to you? And the Lakers have put themselves in a position with the guys that they have fired, with making decisions in the short term without long-term plans, that they are desperate. And they needed someone desperately. And he was not perfect, and his motives at the beginning might not have been what you would want them to be. However, their need is so great, and they are right now left with so many questions that, yes, they should have paid him more than he was worth and taken the chance, because to them, he was worth more than he would be to anybody
for the record,
else.
The powers that be at Connecticut yesterday said they will make sure that Dan Hurley now becomes the highest paid college coach. And next year, Bill Self is scheduled to make $13 million. Then it drops back to $11 million average for the next 4 years. But I'm just saying, watch Dan Hurley. He's going to get more from Connecticut than you had on the table here in LA.
But that's Rob. That's Rob and Jeannie's fault. It's not my fault, because if I was in charge, he wouldn't have never left the building. I understand. It comes to a point at a certain number, but you're going to embarrass yourself, and you're going to have people like Skip Bayless up here talking about no one wants to coach for the franchise. No one wants to be a part of this. It's a disaster. Because if, in fact, at that hour and a half mark when the show was over, at 10:30, it would have been press conference of the Lakers. They just hired Dan Hurley. Guess what you'd have been saying today? What a great, fantastic hire. They got it done finally. This is amazing. They were able to pay him $17 million a year.
Keyshawn, we went over the history of every college to pro coach.
I understand that.
And we couldn't find one who had won a championship or had huge success. Billy Donovan, but he inherited, obviously, Katie and Russ.
I get it. And Patino has some mild success with the Knicks.
He did. And that's it.
Who are you going to get next? Who are you going for? And I'm confused in this coaching search, and maybe you have a sense of it, Key. What do they even want? Because they're ping-ponging between someone with a development background, right? I mean, that was one of the things about Dan Hurley that I really liked, was the idea that they keep talking about this isn't just a coach for right now. We've gone through 7 coaches in 11 years, 8 if you count the interim coach, Bernie Bickerstaff. So, I mean, it gets worse. We want someone for the long term. We want someone who can develop some of our role players or younger guys. We want someone who can grow with AD. That's some of the things I like that match the Dan Hurley description. Do you want that? Well, that's not what you're going after when you go after J.J. Redick or James Borrego. They've got other different skills. So, you know, I just don't even understand what they're looking for. And I don't know if you have a better sense of that. But I think that is one of the, again, before you fire Darvin Ham, I mean, this is management 101.
It is.
Before you fire the person you have in the job, you need to have at least an idea of what you want and who could fill it.
But the problem, I think, though, Rachel, without placing any pointing fingers or blame to anybody, when you have 2 of the biggest stars in the NBA, this is not the NFL, this is not Major League Baseball, on your roster that still have years left and can still potentially win you a championship, you most likely are going to look at the relationship that they have with the head coach and make a decision based on what they feel. That's the way I saw it, because as soon as things started to kind of tremble a little bit late in the season, the noise started to come about when you started seeing AD talk about the defense and LeBron saying, what the hell are you doing? And then the noise just kept going to the point where it's like, we got to keep LeBron and we got to keep AD happy. And I don't think that they feel like he's the coach. And then all of a sudden, Darvin Ham was fired.
But again, that is where, as management, you take control of the situation. You can sit down with LeBron.
How you going to take control of LeBron and AD, though?
I'm going to tell you right now. You sit down with LeBron and you say, do you want us to fire Darvin Ham? We'll do it if you want us to, but do you think you can work it out with him? LeBron has never come out and aggressively fired a coach. He may have passive-aggressively let you know how he feels, but he is not in his history.
But that's aggressive, though.
No. It is not in his history to say, I want this guy fired.
But that's
if
aggressive,
he did, then
aggressive.
he takes more control. If he doesn't, I think, and you look at your options and you say, you know what? We could get rid of Darvin, but we don't really have anyone lined up in the chute that we want someone. You sit those 3 guys down, and you do what Pat Riley did when LeBron was having some early issues with Eric Spoelstra, and you say, this is the coach. But
here's what I'm going to say to you about that, Rachel, when you covered this. LeBron had just got there. LeBron is leaving potentially. So
he's not leaving.
I know he's not. You know he's not.
I know he's not. The Lakers know he's not. He's not leaving.
But there is an option to leave.
I get it. And
there was no option to leave in Miami.
I get it.
In Miami, it's easy to say, okay, we got you for the next 5 years. I don't give a damn what you say. Y'all gonna sit down, y'all gonna talk this out, because you here, and I ain't trading you, and I don't care, blah, 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 blah. And at the time, he was still a puppy. Now here, he's a full-grown dog. So at the end of the day, you're not gonna sit down with him.
And you give him the chance to fire the coach. That's my first step, as I said.
Even if he...
But I don't think he would have. I think he would have sort of kind of...
But that's what he gonna do. But that's firing him. That's firing him. If LeBron James... I don't have to speak loud to let you know I don't like the dude coaching me. All I got to do is look at him a certain way, and we all go, yeah, he ain't messing with him.
That is true.
That's what it takes.
Well, think of Dan Hurley. He's looking at this saying, LeBron's one of the greatest players ever, but he's just difficult to coach because he's like uncoachable because he's smarter than you are. he knows way more than you know.
I think a lot of coaches would like that problem.
Okay,
No.
well, that's, you could argue, but it's tricky, and it's going to get trickier next year because I'm pretty sure Bronny is going to be a Laker.
Well, I don't care about that.
Okay, well, Dan Hurley would care a lot about
Yeah,
that
but that
because
doesn't-
that's hard to manage.
That's okay.
Because you're going to have veterans at the end of the bench saying, seriously, he's playing 15 minutes and
Well,
I'm
I don't
playing
know that
2?
he'll be. I don't know who'll be playing 15 minutes or
He
not.
might.
I think they are smart enough, and when I say they, I'm talking about LeBron's camp. Smart enough to know that Bronny needs to continue to keep playing basketball. So keeping him on a normal NBA contract is fine. That ain't that. I don't care about that. Getting him playing time in minutes, you can put him down to G League, bring him back up sometime. Put him back down so he can get the minutes that he needs to continue to develop. And I know
Sure LeBron's going to come
I'm
home
sure
with
they're
that?
smart. He's not saying he needs to be with him all 82 games. No. Because he's not saying that. He wants to win as bad as he wants to play with his son.
Okay. I know the Lakers are still the Lakers in perception, national and international perception, but I saw this last night and it just stopped me in my tracks.
What do we do now?
The Lakers haven't been better than 7th in the West, except one time, and that was in 2020 for your Mickey Mouse championship. I'm sorry, you were there. But again, they won the bubble championship. That was the only time that they were better than 7th over the last 12 years. 12 years.
haven't been very
It's only
good.
one time. So it's not like recent history suggests, boy, you better take this job.
It's almost like stability is an
Okay.
important part of a franchise.
It is.
And by keep firing their coaches, they don't have any.
I understand everything both of you are saying. First of all, Skip, that 12-year spurt that you just ran off is bogus. We didn't have talent. Okay, we just didn't. We didn't have talent. Kobe had got hurt, came back at the end. It was farewell tour. We didn't have anything.
It's a long stretch.
And then we get LeBron in the year that we picked up LeBron in 19, I think it was. We didn't have anything except LeBron. LeBron gets hurt. Then all of a sudden we get AD. We go and we win the bubble. We win the championship. And then we get rid of the coach. Why they got rid of the coach, I don't know. Everybody that I know in the NBA tells me when the coach is fired that fast, it has something to do with the superstars not being able to
Frank Vogel?
see the same eyes with him.
He didn't get fired right away.
He got fired the next year.
Nope, the next year.
Yeah, the next.
So,
2 years later.
So Frank Vogel got fired after the season in which they traded for Russell Westbrook and had major injury time loss from LeBron and Anthony Davis. I do not know how that was his fault, either one of those things. It does not make sense. And if you do not keep consistency, even when coaches may have a down year, Michael Malone has talked about it, Eric Spoelstra has talked about it. Michael Malone came out when Denver won the title and said there are 2 or 3 times where this organization could have fired me, and they didn't. And that is part of why we are here today, that consistency. Eric Spoelstra has echoed the same thing. The way coaches are disposed of in today's NBA is ridiculous, and franchises that do it over and over and over again pay for it. And that is what is happening with the Lakers right now.
So, in the end, Dan Hurley looks at what he's got coming back at UConn, and Alex Caravan opted not to go into the draft. He's a really good player, so that's going to give him an anchor for next year. And that Liam McNeely that he recruited is one of the top players in the country. So all of a sudden, they got a chance to be really good, to win 3 in a row. And the last time that happened was when John Wooden won 7 in a row.
It's cool, man. Look, I know we got to get out of here, Skip, because he's screaming in my ear. But at the end, it wasn't a great fit for Hurley in California versus being on the East Coast. That's all it boils down to. You make it a fit. How much do you need? It's a blank check. We need you.
Even if he could be a disaster.
Even if he, because at least we got a guy that could grow in the role.
Okay. All right. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.